It is, to Mark's point.
We have Mike Kliss. Mark, I want to bring you up to date on our visit with Mike Kliss earlier in the show because I think there's a growing sense of, I wouldn't say panic, but maybe kind of, I guess antsy maybe is the right word, that folks are getting a little bit antsy about why haven't we heard any news about the Broncos getting some of these contracts worked out with some of their key guys, Courtland Sutton, Zach Allen, Nik Bonitto, John Franklin Myers. We had Mike Kliss, our 9 News Bronco insider, on, who talked specifically about Courtland Sutton.
I think the one you'd have to watch there is Courtland, because he did show last year that he's willing to hold out. It was a voluntary OTAs, but he did hold out from that, whatever protest that was. And they went up against it last year, right before, I think it was the day before training camp, that they tweaked it to where he got an extra $1.5 million in incentives. So I would think Courtland would be the only one. I'm not saying he's going to hold out if that's the tack they do, but I know he's wanting a new contract before he reports.
Mike talked about the idea of just, I could see them, doing something where they, throw a little bit more money in this year. Do you think, Stoke, do you think Court is okay with kind of going year to year with this kind of thing? Or at some point do the Broncos have to marry this guy and give him a real legitimate, 3-year contract at legitimate? We're not talking about a 3-year deal. It's really a 1-year deal. We're talking about like a 3-year deal with substantial money.
You want to put a ring on it?
Put a ring on it.
Well, look, they already did that. I mean, they gave him big money, and the early part of that contract, they weren't getting value for the contract, for the money they were paying him. But now they are. And he hasn't been going year to year. This is the last year of his contract, though. So what do the Broncos want to do?
But they did throw in a sweetener last year.
They did. Yep. They put some incentives in there, and he made, another $1.5 million in incentives, something like that. So that seemed to work out last year. But what does he want this year, Mike? Does he just want more money this year and to be a free agent at the end of the year, or does he want an extension right now? I'm sure if I'm in his shoes, you spent your whole career here. What do you want? I want an extension. Give me a 3-year extension, making, I don't know, 20, 25 a year, $40 million guaranteed. I mean, I'm sure that he's looking for something like that. Can they get it done? Is a question. Do the Broncos want to do that? You got a lot of young receivers on your team. So you're looking at the future. Do you want to go with the younger guys? Cheaper guys? I mean, you're going to have to make a decision,
Unproven, too.
Unproven. You're going to have to make a decision. And I think I'm not really concerned with we haven't heard a lot of conversation about these contracts. Everybody's on vacation now, right? They'll get done a week before training camp. Usually that's kind of the time table there. Once they get back from vacation, then you see these deals start to get done. So it's going to be interesting, though, to see which order they get done. But I am expecting a couple of them to get done.
I don't know about you guys. I just don't feel like, you said put a ring on it. I don't feel like the Broncos necessarily want to put a ring on it. I don't think where is he? What number a year is he in? Is he a top?
I think Sean Payton loves him
in this league.
I think Sean Payton loves him, though, Mark.
I think he loves him, too. I think he loves him at the price he's at. I don't think he loves him at what the going rate is for top-notch wide receivers, which I don't think he's in that top 10 category. But, the going rate, that $30 million rate, I don't think they love him at $30 million.
I agree.
What does he make right now?
He's making 13.
My feeling is that, all right, listen, man, we love you at 20, but we don't love you at 30. We love you at 18, but we don't love you at 27. I think there is, I guess a delineating line for the Broncos, and you know how negotiations go. The player thinks he deserves X, and the team is willing to go up to Y, and those two don't intersect. They're not close. And that's where I feel kind of like where we are right now. He took the make good deal or the incentive laden deal last year in hopes that he would get paid this year. I don't feel like the Broncos are on board with that.
I disagree. I think they are. I think they're going to get something done. I think because I say that because I think they knew heading into this offseason that he wanted a new deal. He wanted a new deal last year, and they kind of, they gave him a little sprinkle. They gave him some incentives, but they knew that they were going to have to revisit it this year. He has a great year. So if you don't want to revisit it, if you're the Denver Broncos, then you should have traded him. You should have tried to trade him before the draft. You don't want to go down this road. All of a sudden you get to camp and there's no deal. Courtland's not happy, and you have a huge distraction here. I think they understand what he wants, and I think they're willing to give him what he wants, whatever that number may be. And you also look at his cap hit this year, Mark. It's $20 million cap hit. Now, if you extend him 2 or 3 years, that cap hit comes down in a major way. And, yeah, that's why I say I think you're not going to look at a $30 million, $27 million a year. I think you're looking at 20 to 23 a year with around 40 guaranteed, and because he's 30 years old. But I do think they end up getting something done with him.
So then now that makes sense to me. If you can keep it around 22, 23 million bucks, that totally makes sense to me. So I mean I'd be all over that. I think that makes sense. But if you're trying to get up there like 27, 28 million bucks, then I think that's where you kind of bulk at that.
Sure.
Figure.
Yeah, I agree with you there also.
So if the going rate for a star receiver, okay, clear, number one, no doubt, is let's say $30 million per year, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What would you guys feel comfortable paying Courtland Sutton per year?
20. Right around 20. 20 to 22 would be, and you give him a 3-year extension, 62 million.
Most 40, of it guaranteed?
40
guaranteed?
2 years
so
of it
basically
guaranteed.
He's
30. That's the thing, is like going rate for an A-plus receiver, when you look at Chase and Justin Jefferson, whatever the case may be, it's 30 plus. But they're in their prime. Is Courtland at age 30, 31 in his prime, you got to look at the future here in his age. I think so. So I would be comfortable anywhere between 20 and 23 a year with a little 40, 41 guaranteed.
I think you're right. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say. I was just going to say.
Jeez.
What's that?
Thought you fell asleep there for a second.
No. I was just going to say. I was looking up Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill. Stop me when you think he's in here.
Right.
Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Smith, Marvin Harrison Jr., Ayuk, Garrett Wilson.
All right. Now I'm willing to put him in there.
Right, but I'm just
okay,
saying.
Yeah, but it took a while. Yeah.
Right.
It took a while.
So.
And it also you got to look at age here, and importance to your team. So he does have value.
Yeah,
he's not an upper echelon number one receiver.
No,
we understand
but
that.
I think he's
good.
I think he's in an enviable position. I think you're right, Mark. I think Sean looks at it as at Courtland Sutton's like, man, I really don't like the idea of having to invest in this guy. I like him, but I don't love him. But you got a young quarterback going into year 2. You have a lot of young players that you like, but you don't really know yet. And say this about Courtland Sutton, he is a proven commodity. You know what you're going to get from Courtland. I have no doubt coming off a season in which he had 81 catches for almost 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. I have no doubt that if you tell me he's going to be able to play 16, 17 games, that he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, north of 70 catches, and probably 6 or more touchdowns. I feel like you can book. I feel like you can book that, and for an offense that is still growing, and you got a lot of unproven parts. I think Courtland Sutton's in a very advantageous position right now.
All right, let's play a game really quick. Where do you think Pro Football Focus has him rated in their breakdown of the top wide receivers?
I think I saw this.
24.
31?
31.
Yeah.
They have him rated as a tier 6.
So now you're
system.
bowing to the altar of Pro Football Focus?
Wow.
I thought you hated Pro Football Focus.
I do. I do hate Pro Football.
Who
was
else?
in New York for a few months and look what happened.
I'm not a big Pro Football Focus fan because I think there's a lot of these names here that I would put him or rank him over. But he's not a top 15 wide receiver in my book.
No,
I think he's higher than 31.
but what
You
what's
got
that?
Brandon Ayuk, you got DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle they have over him, Stokes guy, Ladd McConkey, Olave, Zay Flowers, Marvin Harrison.
So what would you
Jr.,
pay him?
no.
What would you pay him, or would you even pay him? Would you just?
I would be willing to go like what Stokes said, somewhere in the 20, 21, 22. But I'm not dude, you're not one of those